This edition of MacVoices is supported by you, our viewers and listeners, through our new Patreon campaign. If you get value from MacVoices, please consider helping support the show by visiting patreon.com/MacVoices. And by the MacVoices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter to keep you up on all the latest from MacVoices. Watch or listen to MacVoices straight from your email client. Sign up at macvoices.com/newsletter and stay up to date. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we're going to have some fun this time around because this is gift guide number 3 of our holiday gift giving series, where we get together with some friends, share some laughs, share some ideas for things that we would like to give or get, either one, and maybe give you all some ideas as well. So with that, let's introduce the panel and let's go around and have some fun. Oh, and I should say, if this is by any chance your first gift guide show, the rules are pretty simple. This panel can't pick anything previous panels have picked, and they can't steal, they can steal picks. They just can't go back and repeat somebody else's picks. And so it's always a bit of a game to see, who can get in something first.
But can we steal Christmas presents?
Well, if necessary. So here comes the panel. First up, and I'm just going to take my screen top to bottom to keep it easy. Back with us again, Mr. Charles Edge. Charles, it's great to see you.
Great to see you too, Chuck. How you been?
I've been great. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Also, it's unfortunate that these appearances seem to be the only ones I can get her to do anymore, but at least she's here. Jean MacDonald. Jean, welcome.
Thanks for having me. And no, don't worry. I'm ramping up a new thing, and you'll be the first to hear when it's public, and I'll be coming and begging you for a chance to come on MacVoices again. So
I'll make it public, Jean. You never have to beg. Just say the word. No problem. It's good to have you. Last but absolutely not least, looking very much like it should be St. Patrick's Day, Mr. Steve Sande. Steve, how are you?
Well, I'm doing just great. I was thinking about doing a green and red screen for the holiday seasons, but it didn't work. But how are you doing, Chuck?
I'm great. It's good to have you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So you guys have all been researching and coming up with really great ideas, and usually these things turn into kind of offbeat or strange ideas, which is something I love. So let's just get right to it. Charles, you get the first pick of the first round.
That means no one's going to steal my pick.
Yeah.
So if I have a backup, do I do both then?
No, you keep the backup for later because you might need it.
Okay. So my pick would be a Bitcoin, because that's worth 10 grand. No, that's a bit too steep. My pick would actually be a Fitbark. I have a new border collie in the house, and the Fitbark is like a Fitbit but for dogs.
Okay,
that's cool.
That is very cool.
And it shows you like your dog against other dogs of their breed, so you can see how active your little pup is. And it's got the typical step tracking type stuff, but you can also see it plotted against age. And I always thought that the dogs slept less when they got older, but they sleep more. Who knew? So lots of fun stuff.
A Fitbark. So this does. I mean, does this do more than just? I don't know what you call it with the dog. It's not step tracking. I don't know. I guess it's whatever.
It mostly it shows in miles as opposed to in steps for the most part.
Okay.
So,
okay.
It doesn't have a heart rate monitor because it just clips to the collar. Mine ate it off of his collar once, but we kind of worked it out, and we had a discussion and talked about things, and hopefully he won't do that again.
Okay. And he acknowledged that he did something wrong.
No.
Okay.
Does it let you find the dog if he goes running off somewhere? Or?
Yes. Well, there's two. There's one with a monthly subscription, kind of like the new Apple Watch, where or an annual subscription, where it does do geographical tracking, and you can watch where it is on the map. So if you've got a dog prone to bolting, as some are, then you can at least have an approximate location of kind of where he's hanging out.
Huh.
Cool.
Okay. Didn't see that one coming. A Fitbark.
How much is that?
Yeah.
It's less than $100. According to how you outfit it. I, of course, had to get, they have these little covers just like the Fitbit. I had to get one of each color because he must be color coordinated to my Chuck Taylors that I'm wearing on any given day. And so I may have spent a little more than your average duck would, but at least we're color coordinated.
You're pretty serious about this. This is.
But I do want to go back to the Bitcoin. If anyone wants to buy me a Bitcoin, given that they're at $1,000 right now, that would be perfectly fine as well.
Okay. I like the idea. Yeah. In fact, I will happily accept Bitcoins as well. Okay. Good pick. Gene, your first one of the evening.
I have so many because I just knew coming in at this late stage of gift guide that my choices, I'd need a lot of backup. So I'm going to start with something, though, that I really like. It's not super high tech, but it's super useful, whatever you do. These are LED camping lanterns. Actually, I got a lot of stuff this year because of the eclipse. And so I was going out to this remote place. So I kept saying like, might need lighting, So I'm going to open it, might ruin the screen, but it's quite bright. And it comes on Amazon, it comes in a set of 4 for $22. So, and it just takes, it's AA batteries. So I thought when I bought them, I thought, am I just going crazy, like eclipse crazy? So I live in Oregon where we had the total eclipse. And I also have my friends Steve and Allison Sheridan up here to go to see the eclipse with me. So we were very much like planning for months, like because we knew we wanted to go to a fairly remote location. And afterwards I was like, no, these are great. Because like in the summertime, sitting out and it's getting dark, just put out a few of these. They're super light and they're very sturdy. And and they come in 4 colors, Charles. So they can coordinate with your Chuck Taylors as well. And the reason I put them first is I literally just ordered 3 sets of them. Those are my Christmas gifts this year. And I hope nobody in my family is listening to this podcast. So.
Gene, do you do that much outdoor activity that this makes sense?
You don't? Oh, no. But no, the reason I first came across them is I was at a little motel at the beach and the power went out, on the coast. So Oregon coast is very, fairly remote location there. And the only thing I had was my iPhone, with a light. But the lady who owned the place came and knocked on our door and says, here, you want one of these? And I thought it was the best thing ever. And so I took a picture of it. And then when I got home, I thought I could use these on our eclipse trip. And then since then, I just keep them around. And yeah, if there was a power outage, I have 4 lanterns. They're small. And so maybe I'm a little bit in survivalist mode after the eclipse because it felt like it. I have maybe another pick that's in that vein. But even if you didn't camp, I mean, honestly, probably a serious camper would have something more serious that wasn't for $22. But for just being ready for power outages or wanting something to have outdoors, just if you were going to have even like a tailgate party or something like that, where you would go and if it's going to get dark early as it is now, getting dark super early, it's kind of nice to just know I have 4 lanterns.
As someone who does camp sometimes, I would have to say that price point is kind of nice because if you leave it behind by accident, you don't feel too bad, or if a bear eats it.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good point. I guess that's how I feel about them because I just kind of threw them in a bag and I thought, well, if they break, they're not breakable. They don't seem very breakable, but if I mess them up, it's not like I wasted a lot of money on them. So I think nobody else will be getting you these. I think if you want a gift that actually people can use, that is practical, kind of fun because of the 4 colors, and they're not likely to receive from anybody else. This is like a Fitbark, which now I kind of want to get for somebody for Christmas. Thank you. I think it's a good gift.
In the first place, Charles, if a bear gets close enough to eat it, the price point's going to be the last thing I'd be concerned about. But the other thing,
if it matches your chucks, that's invaluable.
Yeah. But Gene, I'm curious, are these something that would be good to? I mean, we're joking about the survivalist thing, but if we're heading into the bad weather season, at least here on the East Coast, is this a good thing to maybe have around as an emergency kind of light? Should you lose power?
Yes. Yeah, that's how I was introduced to it at the place on the coast. And I'm from Florida. I know about hurricanes. I would rather have 4 of these out than have my kids lighting 4 candles or whatever. They're very easy to use, and definitely. I didn't have anything like this on hand before, and now I feel like really super, mispreparedness all of a sudden because I have these 4 lanterns. In 4 different colors.
Yeah. Just so, never mind the beef jerky. You got light. That's good.
I have light.
All right, good. Well, no, I don't think anybody's ever picked. Well, Chuck Latornis might have picked some variation on the lantern at some point, but I don't remember it. So good.
It doesn't. It's not USB powered or anything like that. So that would really qualify it for this geeky show. But it's practical and elegantly designed. I'd say that's why Apple people would like it.
Got it. Okay. Steve, what's your first pick?
Well, I'm going to go to the opposite end of the spectrum. It's not cheap, and it's definitely not practical. And it kind of has to do with, I believe I may have done a similar product last year. And the product is, I'm really getting to be kind of a drone fanatic. Maybe you can call me a drone. But anyway, it's DJI Spark. And DJI has, really kind of taken over the market when it comes to high end. They're kind of almost like the Apple of the drone industry right now. And in fact, they even sell something called DJI Care. So if you happen to crash your drone and, you go, oh my God, I broke it. You can send it in. You get a kind of a, repaired or, refurbished unit back, and life is good. The interesting thing about the Spark is prior to it coming out earlier this year, if you got a DJI drone, there were usually, these big honking units, these big quadcopters. And then they came out with this thing called the Mavic Pro, which was smaller. It folded up, something you could definitely take on a trip somewhere. And it had really incredible quality, in terms of being able to do 4K video and the rest of these things. The Spark kind of brought the sensibility of the Mavic down to a somewhat more affordable price point, and it's really, really small, very, very small. The interesting thing about this is you can actually just buy the unit itself. They had them on sale for $399, I think it was $399, not $3.99. But you can actually start off, if you want, controlling them with just an iPhone over Wi-Fi. That gives you a very limited range. But, I think for a lot of people, it's a good thing to almost learn, how to fly and how to control the device, where you're not in a situation where you're flying it, several miles away. It has a bunch of these functions that are built into it. They call it face aware. You can actually take the thing out, have it point at your face. It recognizes your face, and then it'll hover in place near you. And then you go in and you can do some of these other things like wave at it and it'll take a picture, or different items like that.
Wow.
It also, with the controller, there's actually a controller that you can get that you put an iPhone into. You can either talk to it over Wi-Fi or use a cable. There's like a secondary market in micro USB to lightning cables that's popped up just for these things. I didn't know until, I kind of got into this. But with the DJI Go 4 app, you can actually go in and you can do these other things like what they call tap fly, which is where you actually tap a location. You're looking at it through the phone, and you tap on that location, and it'll fly to that point. It does some other things where it will follow you. It's got electronic image stabilization. And probably the most important thing is that it comes in a variety of colors to match your Chuck Taylors. It comes in green, white, blue, red, and yellow. So it's got a full set of things there. Like I said, for somebody who wants to do more than just have a toy, one of those $99 things that you can get, but doesn't want to spend the money for a full-fledged drone, just wants something in between. It's a DJI product. It kind of gives you an entry point into their ecosystem there, and what you learn on the smaller device, the DJI Spark, you can definitely use with the more expensive and more professional drones that are in their product line. So definitely kind of a unique little device. Very cool.
Steve, from the way you described it, I think I've got it right, that it doesn't come with the controller. You're using your iPhone, at least at the base model. Is that
exactly?
Do you have any idea what the price of the controller is?
If I remember correctly, I think it's about $100, but let me check for sure here. Interesting. It's after their sale date, and they're still showing $399 for the price point. So that may be the new price point there. It comes. You can get it with the remote controller for $499. So apparently, it is $100.
Okay.
And that really gives you a lot better range. I think it's up to 1.2 miles.
Okay. I knew a drone would make its appearance sooner or later. I just wasn't sure who was going to do it, but that's good. Good. Yeah. So I think everybody on the panel has just picked something that comes in colors to match Charles's Chuck Taylors.
That's the theme of the evening, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm afraid my first pick is going to be something that it doesn't come in colors. There have been a theme to some of my gifts this year. One of the themes has been that I had several unfortunate incidents occur in my life this year. And so I've been sort of reaching out and picking things that made a difference and maybe minimized those or protected me in those situations. One, and this is a perennial favorite for me, but you need something that will protect your data. And that can be backups, and there are plenty of offsite backups. We talk backups all the time. But if you want something locally that will protect you from hard drive failures or issues, I still have to go with the Drobo. Now, there are a lot of different models. You can have the direct connects that'll plug right into your computer, your iMac or your MacBook Pro or whatever, or the network versions that are network attached storage. I'm really leaning at this point towards suggesting people get the network attached storage versions. Yes, they're a little more expensive, but that way then you don't have cables running everywhere, and you still have really pretty darn terrific speed. Wouldn't want to edit video off of a network attached storage device, but for pretty much all the other purposes, and especially for basically archive storage, it's more than fast enough. I love the Drobos simply because of the redundancy of them. If a drive goes bad, okay, a drive's gone bad. You can, pop another one in. You don't lose any data. If you have it configured properly, you can lose 2 drives and you won't lose any data. The other thing that just because you decide you have this kind of storage need today, well, next year, you're probably going to need more. And you can upgrade the drives in the Drobo. You can upgrade them on the fly so that slide a 4 terabyte out and slide a 6 terabyte in, and you automatically have more storage. Yes, there is a little bit of overhead to take care of that redundancy that we talked about, but it's not a one-for-one redundancy. A one-for-one trade-off. And it's been my solution to storing a lot of data safely. The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't store it off-site, unless, of course, I take one of those Drobos to somebody else's house and then transfer stuff there. But for something that's local, the Drobo has saved my bacon more times than I can mention. Full disclosure, they have been a sponsor of the show, and they're definitely friends of the show, but that doesn't matter. They're still absolutely great products. I have never lost any data on a Drobo. And that's something I can't say about any other solution, unfortunately, including Apple. So, a little bit expensive maybe, but it doesn't have to be depending on how you configure it. But, it's just great having that big pile of storage. So that's my first pick. So through all my hassles, I didn't lose any data. That's a good thing.
Yeah. And can there be cables that come in all the colors of your Chuck Taylors? Or
well, we could probably find power cables that maybe came in colors.
I can say I've had 3 or 4 Drobos over the years, and they are easy to use. Like you said, you don't want to do like high-end production stuff live off of them, but the way that they move data, they don't call it a RAID 5 or a RAID 6. What do they call it? They have like
beyond RAID.
Right. The way that they just kind of intelligently move extensive files around and stuff like that. Just the tech I think is cool, but I've definitely used that as archival and backup storage over the years as well.
Yeah, there are lots of different kind of RAID solutions out there, and and they're all great depending on what your needs are. But this is so simple, and man, we are all gathering up more photos, more videos, more stuff that you think, I don't want to throw that away. I want to keep it. This is a safe way to keep it. So, go get a Drobo.
Good one.
All right, so we went from I don't even know where we went from. Was it Fitbark up to Drobo. All right. Charles, take us into round 2. Are you going to be eclectic again?
I'm always eclectic. I don't know if this pick is eclectic, but I will be, if that's okay. So my second pick would be a Harmony remote. I didn't see that on the list. No one picked that, right?
Nope. Good.
So the reason, and I would say, searching around for different models, and my last one I bought on eBay used, so it's not really even, I don't even know how much they cost. I know they're less than $200, but the reason for that is because of the fact that there's a skill on Alexa for it, and it also works with HomeKit. And so the ability to control my TV with my voice is always a very, very important thing. Not that important actually, but it is something that I like. I can kind of walk in the door, and I also have some IR blasters around so that I can control other things as well. So mine would be the Logitech Harmony remote.
Charles, when you say you can control your TV now, are you using the IR blasters to do that? And I'm assuming it's volume up, volume down, on, off.
It can't change it can't like play something new on the Apple TV. I look forward to a day when Apple releases an API to control this stuff. They haven't quite gotten there yet, but according to the brand of the TV, the Harmony can do a lot more than I have mine doing. Mostly because I don't actually have TV service anymore. I just use the Apple TVs, but I can definitely say volume up, volume down. I don't really control things that way for what it's worth. Just because when the TV's actually playing or a stereo is piping through it, it doesn't, I find, pick up very well.
Okay. I will ask you to make sure you send me the specific model, because I know the Harmony remotes go from reasonably affordable to, oh my God, expensive. I'm not.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So I'm not quite sure, which, I mean, and I don't really care which one, if it works for you and you can recommend it, that's great, because that's something that I've looked at. A lot of the Harmony remotes. I've played with a couple of them. Some I've had and had good success with. Some I've had that I didn't have such good success with. And it doesn't seem to be related to the price points either. So I'm really curious to see exactly which one.
Yeah, that's something I've found really interesting. The price point for a lot of tech that involves home automation, with the exception of probably blind controls, doesn't seem to matter that much. With the blind controls, they're all just stupid expensive for the most part.
Yeah. Okay, good. First home automation pick of this panel. Very nice. Very nice. Jean, round two.
Well, for my second pick, I want to talk about something called the Native Union Smart Charger, which was a gift that was given to me last year, and I really like it. It's a very slim, I'm holding it up, you can see, like a very slim piece of hardware that plugs into the wall, and it has 2 slots for USB cables. And I don't know if it's the greatest charger in the world, but it's definitely, from a form factor, it's just perfect for me, and such that I take it with me now on trips, like I can plug that iPad and the iPhone into it. And it's because it's a smart charger, it knows what, that particular device can take, and it does do, it's, quick charging for the iPhone and iPad as well. But sometimes I just plug my AirPods into it as well. So it's only $20, and I've just been super happy with it. And it comes in 3 colors. So if you have these sneakers, navy, black, or taupe, then you're good.
Check, and check.
I have black. I just have black. I just have a black charger. I don't have any Chuck Taylors. But yeah, so, you could get fancier, longer, shorter cables. I can plug the charger for the Apple Watch into it too sometimes. But I usually need at least two places to charge, and so that's helped me out a lot on traveling as well. So for the same price practically as 4 lanterns, you can get this one little charger.
I like it when you're traveling. I'm sure that this group probably suffers from the same thing I do. You travel with an embarrassing amount of gear, and anytime I can find something that makes things a little smaller, a little easier, man, it's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes literally.
I think I'm going to have to order some of these to give to people in case they don't appreciate the lanterns like I do.
Okay, so Jean has just given us the thing she's giving people, and a backup in case they don't like it.
Yeah.
Good strategy. Steve, what do you got for round 2?
Well, I have yet another impractical but very cool toy here. And I noticed one of the other picks was a similar device. Somebody had picked a Ricoh Theta V or Theta 5. I don't know if it's a V or a 5. But anyway, had picked that. It's a virtual reality camera. And just about a week ago, I got this. And this is a GoPro Fusion. It is a GoPro, so basically you can throw it against a wall, you can dump it in the water, and it's somewhat waterproof, I think down to 15 feet or something like that. But it is a 360 VR camera. And earlier, Jean was talking about the eclipse. I was actually in just north of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, right in the, right next to the Grand Tetons there, for the eclipse. And at that time, I was using my Ricoh Theta S VR camera, and actually did about a 23-minute video that went from before totality through totality and then afterwards. And it's amazing. The people who were on our trip with us, it was a group from the University of Colorado, but oh man, it was just like being there again. And that's the cool thing about VR videos. You can, either if you're using like an iPhone and you're watching the stuff on YouTube, you can, scan up, scan down, scan around, and you can see what's happening all around you. Or you can be on a browser like, on a regular PC like this, or Mac, excuse me, this is not a PC, but go in and you can actually scan around in the 360 videos, do the same type of thing, look up, look down, look right at the sun just as it's going into eclipse. And anyway, I really liked the, I guess you could say, the specifications of the Fusion more than the Theta B. So that's kind of why I went with it. I'm still testing it right now, though. And so the jury is still out on that one, so to speak. But very nice little unit. Definitely not inexpensive, but I love doing virtual reality photography and videography, so it's going to get a lot of use.
Steve, first question: what kind of price is it? Because I'm not familiar with that.
$699.
Oh, okay.
And just came out literally within about the last 2 weeks. It, unlike the Theta, it actually uses SD cards. It uses a pair of SD cards. And you actually, each of the cameras is recording to one of the SD cards for the best possible bandwidth. And then it does stitching actually within the device to give you that complete 360 image or video. And it's definitely very, very cool. Like I said, the images worked out pretty good. They're also going to do something that'll be really kind of neat. If you take a 360 video and you decide, I really like what I see in this one part of the image, you can create a traditional 2D video from the one section there, from the spherical footage. And that'll be available starting in January, I think. They also have a special Fusion app that for Mac that came out, and it allows you to do some special things with the video or the photos when you get them off of there. So GoPro, they said this summer they were going to be coming out with this. They didn't say when, and then all of a sudden, like magic in November, boom, there it was. Definitely a fun toy.
Steve, would you mind holding it up for the camera a second?
Oh, sure. Well, actually, let me take it out of the case.
Oh, sorry.
And it only comes in black. I'm sorry to say, it does not come in.
I have black chucks.
Well, you can probably spray paint it.
I don't want to hold you back from getting me one for Christmas.
Yeah, so if you turn it around here, you can see this side has a little display. You don't need to control it from a smartphone. An iPhone just uses the standard GoPro app, but you can if you want to, and if you want to see what you're actually shooting. But you can put it in several different modes. It'll they even recommend that if you want to take like galaxy pictures, Milky Way pictures, they have in the owner's manual some guidelines on how long an exposure to do. So,
well, so let me.
It's going to be fun.
The way you're holding it, I mean, you're holding it sort of like a traditional GoPro. So so there's a camera taking. I mean, if you hold it like a GoPro, there's a camera that's taking what's in front of you, but then there's also a camera facing you. correct?
Yeah, think of it as being two. Well, in this particular case, I think they're either 190 degree or 220 degree fisheye lenses. So they're actually able to see, almost behind the device.
Yeah,
and it's taking those two images in real time and then stitching them together. So you've got a complete sphere.
Oh, wow.
That you're taking either a picture or a video of. And like the other GoPro devices, it does have a mount. So you can do something like mount this on a car. You can mount it on a helmet, which would be really cute. And maybe your helmet could come in a variety of colors. But anyway, as you're recording, it also does surround sound as well. So very
nice.
cool.
I was going to ask you about mic input, but you just answered the question. So
yeah,
very nice. Okay, good. Wow. Okay, this is already getting expensive.
Ching.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So I'm going to keep on going with my theme a little bit. This happily didn't save me from anything, but it's been very convenient. And when I've had to have repairs done around the house and different things, and that is my Ring doorbell. Now you're going to say, how does a Ring doorbell help you with repairs? I don't care who it is. You can never get anybody to tell you when they're going to arrive. And, inevitably they'll say, yeah, we'll call you 30 minutes ahead, and they don't. So I only work about 15 minutes from my house. And so my Ring doorbell has become invaluable for those kind of independent contractors. When they show up and they hit the bell and I'm sitting at my desk at the office, not only can I talk to them on my phone, but I can see them on my phone. I can gently chide them for, hey, you were supposed to call me, give me 30 minutes notice. Yeah, I forgot. Okay, well, I'll be there in 5 minutes. In some extreme cases, if I know who the people are that are coming, and I know they also have this habit, I will even leave a door unlocked somewhere in the house and say, okay, you're there, go around to the side, that door's unlocked, go on in and get to work and fix the furnace or whatever. I'll be there in 10 minutes. I'm not comfortable leaving doors open very often, but if it's not obvious, if I know somebody's coming, but especially if I can kind of look at them and assess, okay, is this somebody I'm comfortable with doing that? Or just tell them, hey, cool your heels, I'll be there as quick as I can. And, they usually can't give you any back talk because they didn't do what they said they were going to do. But the Ring is absolutely invaluable. It's also invaluable for those, I don't know about you all, but at this time of year, it seems like there's always somebody ringing your bell for something. They want to sell you something. They want to save your soul, or, I don't know what.
Or sell your soul.
Yeah. And, at some point it's like, thank you very much. But you open that door and you're hooked. And this way they have no idea whether you're at home, in the basement, or just hiding behind the door. But you can look, see who it is, talk to them. If they have literature, fine, thank you, leave it on the porch, I'll get it later. And that satisfies them, and they go away. So the Ring doorbell is fantastic. I've yet to have it fail on me. I have mine hardwired into the house's electricity, so don't have to worry about batteries. But you also can run them off of batteries, and the batteries last a long time. This is something I've picked in the past, but I feel like the whole thing, I'm not sure if it's my perception, but I think the app has gotten better. They now come with higher resolution cameras. I'm trying to find like a really good reason that this would break so that I could get one of the higher resolution cameras.
I'm right there with you, Chuck.
Yeah.
I've got one of the originals, and I'm like, wow, the Elite looks really awesome.
Yeah. So it's like, but I don't care which one you pick. You really are doing yourself a disservice from a security standpoint and a convenience standpoint if you aren't looking at something like this. And this is not something, by the way, that you are opening yourself up to a lot of security issues, because it doesn't trigger locks or anything like that. It just is a camera and a mic mounted to the outside of your house. And by the way, the night modes are pretty darn effective. I mean, I'm constantly surprised at that too, at how well they see at night. So yeah, check out the Ring doorbell if you haven't. It's, in my opinion, it should be one of the first things for your smart home or smarter home.
If I can bring up one point, I don't know if any of the viewers are familiar with an app called Nextdoor, Nextdoor, and what it is kind of the idea behind the app is to get people to, kind of know people in their neighborhood. When I was a kid, I knew people all over my neighborhood, even blocks and blocks away. And nowadays, we seem to compress down to knowing just a very few neighbors. Well, what it is kind of like it looks for individual neighborhoods. You register for it. You can actually invite other people. They'll send them a postcard. And when you use the app, one of the sponsors of Nextdoor is, strangely enough, Ring. And people are now getting to the point that what they can do is actually share videos. If some stranger comes up or, they're stealing your Amazon shipment from the front porch and you want to show everybody what the crook looks like, you can actually share those to Nextdoor and everybody can see who this person is and hopefully help call the police. So it's a very, very cool app.
Ring also has an option so that if someone that lives in your neighborhood posts something, it can alert you and you can see information about that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I can also say that their cameras are pretty decent because they have standalone cameras, and then I think this year they have a new spotlight camera. So if your floodlight's going out, which seems to happen once every 30 or 40 years, then it might be a good very expensive way to replace that floodlight.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't want to over dramatize this, but I feel like we're living in something of a surveillance state. So, you're not going to beat them. So just join them and surveil them right back.
I'm with you on that one. I don't think there's any such thing as privacy anymore. That's a thing of the past.
Yeah. Or if there is, it's under adverse conditions, So, okay, good. Well, that puts us halfway through. So that means that if you have multiple things that you're planning on choosing, now's the time to maybe pick your best one, because the pickings may get a little slim here, if not in quantity, in time. So, round 3, Charles.
Is round 3 the last round, or were we supposed to do 4?
We can do 4 if we have time, and I think we're doing good on time. We'll try to do 4 rounds. I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay. Oh, sweet. Okay, so my third one would be Button. bt.tn is the website. These things are about $123, but they come with a 2-year SMS subscription, and it is what the name seems to imply, a button. And you can hook it up to If This Then That, and from there you can trigger things with all the various home automation or email tools or whatever else you might find that's out there with an If This Then That channel. And they do come in multiple colors, red, white, and black. So you can have a little red button that you carry around with you, and when you hit it, something happens, and whatever that thing is pretty much anything that you can find on If This Then That.
Are they difficult to program, Charles?
No, mine took me about 8 seconds. For an extra, I think $11, you can also have it branded. I did not have mine branded, but I feel like I missed out on that every single time I hit it.
Explain that. What do you mean, like with your name?
Yeah, or the picture of your dog. If you're going to use it, like you could hook it theoretically to one of those things that throws dog treats at your dog. And so every time you hit the button, and so you could be in Hawaii, surfing and throw the dog a treat because you feel guilty that he's back in Minnesota freezing. Not that that's happened.
You mean not that he's freezing, or not that you've gone surfing?
All of the above.
All of the above. That's cool. So is this something you well, obviously you could hook it to home automation if you wanted to. So you don't necessarily have to use the Amazon device or the Apple device. Notice I'm not saying their names, but actually have a physical interface to some of these things.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when you can't put HomePods on the list for this year. So there goes number 4. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. Good.
It's a really simple thing. It's SMS, which, there are other things like buttons that will trigger events, but most of them are Wi-Fi enabled. The thing I like about this one is specifically it's SMS, so it doesn't have to have my phone nearby or something like that. So I could leave it on my desk at work, and I could have other people throw dog treats to my dog.
Okay.
Or send tweets on my behalf, or whatever, anything that there's a channel for on If This Then That could be controlled with it.
Wait a minute. You trust other people to send tweets on your behalf?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought I just heard. It's like
that does seem to be one of the most common things that I see people hook up to IFTTT. So
yeah. What could go wrong?
Right.
Okay. Good. Gene, what I don't even know what your theme is. So what are you going to give us this time?
My theme sort of fell apart when it was raining here when the podcast started, and a couple of my things were in the car, and I was like, I don't feel like going to get them. I mean, not that I need to show them. I know it's not show and tell, but it just makes it more interesting. I think I'm trying to figure out how off theme can I get. And, this is off brand, is something was given to me last year for Christmas, the Kindle Paperwhite reader, which I had resisted getting a Kindle for, since they came out, because I was like, I have an iPad, I can read books on the iPad and so forth. But my sister had one. We were traveling together a couple days last year, and she said, my husband said the same thing to me, and I tried it on the iPad, but the first notification that popped through made me feel like, nope, I don't want that. I just want to read my book. And last year, during the MacVoices gift guide, I showed a little stand that I got for my Apple Watch that I said changed my life. And it changed my life because I had been using the rationalization that I have to have my phone near me because I use it as my alarm clock. Once you can use your Apple Watch as an alarm clock, you could put the phone in a totally different room, as is recommended, to not be looking at screens, before you go to bed, or getting distracted late at night and saying, I think I'll just see what's happening on Twitter or whatever. So it's not very good for getting to sleep. So I got that little stand, and that made a big difference. But I still had the iPad, and the rationalization was, my books are on the iPad. But of course, so is Twitter and YouTube and a lot of other things that are not necessarily good for getting to sleep, not to mention reading, from the screen. So I got the Kindle, and I started putting the iPad away as well. So now I sleep with no iPad or iPhone near me, just the little watch and the Kindle, which is it's backlit. It's not the same kind of light as you get from an iPad, and it only has the books on it. It doesn't have anything else. And I'm surprised how much I like this device, because I don't like, it took me a while to get used to how kind of clunky and slow it feels compared to some kind of Apple tablet or iPhone. But it's much less expensive, and it's fairly sturdy. I didn't even get a case for it. I just drop it in a bag, trying to make sure it's, the screen is facing this padded side or whatever, but it feels, it fits in a big pocket even, or I take it in the car and read it in between things I'm doing if, I have to wait somewhere. So I highly recommend, if you have a friend who likes to read in bed and likes ebooks, to get them a Kindle so they can put their iPads away or their iPhones away, because it's a lot easier than I expected. And don't bother getting the case, I would say. I would just get the Kindle which is another thing I've never done with Apple products, but it's sort of got a case of its own. And one thing I learned in this whole, negotiating the whole Kindle ecosystem was, I figured out how to check library books out to it. That was actually super easy. And also, there's 2 varieties of the Kindle you can buy, and one is like $20 cheaper, but it has what they call special offers. And the special offers aren't terrible. Like, it's not like pop-up ads, but it is basically an ad on the Kindle when it's off. So when it's off, it can still display an image because it's e-ink. It's not, using pixels to do this. So I found that bugged me anyway. And as inintrusive as it was like, no, this is my book. I just don't want to be distracted when I see it and think of some other book. So I Googled a bit. I mean, you could pay to have the ads removed, the $20, or if you ask them, they will take them off. You just have to. So that's what I did. I found, like a lot of people said, that was that's what they did, and it was actually pretty easy. And so just FYI, buy the cheaper version, and if they're still being nice about it. I mean, it's in their interest to give you $20. You're just going to spend it on some other Amazon thing. It's not like it's not like they won't get that money anyway. Or you'll buy ebooks or whatever. So, and they probably don't make that much money through the advertising. That's my theory. So yeah, it's not the most cutting edge. In fact, it's the trailing edge of technology. But it was a great gift that I received, and I would certainly consider giving somebody one.
I still use a Kindle as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the notifications thing is part of it, but just the way that the screen feels kind of more bookish,
Yes.
And the lack of notifications is I think an important part. But the way the words appear on the screen is just better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to find my Kindle because I'm embarrassed to say I had one and I wasn't using it. I was always picking up the iPad Mini for reading, and now you've got me wondering, especially that comment about the words just look better. I've got to go back and find it and get it charged and see what it looks like.
Yeah, I think. The other thing I can do is, it's got just enough light, you can read it even in the dark, but not too much. And I find it just makes it easier to go to sleep. So if that's mostly when I read it, is when I'm in bed reading instead of reading the iPad now.
Okay.
I wish it was snappier in terms of technology in a lot of ways, but because it's not, I also I think gets back to that thing of I'm not so worried about A, losing it, or B, trashing it. It has almost zero personal information on it. And if I had to replace it, I would. I wouldn't be happy about it, but it wouldn't break the bank. And it does seem extremely hardy. That's been my experience. So
good. Okay. No, you make me go back and reconsider mine, Gene. Thank you. Steve, round 3.
Okay, this one is actually practical. And what this is from 12 South. This is called the BookBook CaddySack. And what it's made for, kind of looks like a book, nice leather cover on it, zippers, and you open it up. And there are all sorts of places to put chargers and dongles and things like that for a MacBook. And I found I just absolutely love this thing because, as you can see, I've got what is that? Anyway, this one dongle over here, I have no idea what that's for. Oh, now I do. I looked at it. It's display port to USB-C. And then I've got this other thing here that actually is for iPhone or iPad. This is a little off-brand dock, and over here I usually have my MacBook Pro charger and cable in this area. And there's also a little, I guess I'm holding it upside down, but there's a little place up here, a little elastic pocket. Very cool. It looks good. I just really kind of like the feel of it. It's got enough room in it that you can pretty much put all of your dongles with a MacBook or MacBook Pro into it and carry it.
Is the idea, Steve, that it's all your cables and everything are camouflaged?
Well, actually, it's funny because I've had some of the BookBook cases before, and taken them with devices, iPads in particular, on trips, and I got to admit, I feel a little bit more comfortable, for instance, leaving something out if it looks like a book, instead of like some other device. But definitely a cool thing. It just feels good too, and it smells like leather.
But does it come in any colors?
No. I don't believe so. I think it's just one.
I think the classic book look matches all Chuck Taylor's. Just saying.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
that's a good way of putting it.
A classic is a classic. Yeah, good point. Good, Steve. Thank you. I don't know. Maybe we've had some cable cases, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to go the home automation route a little bit here, because in the first place, I don't think there's anybody that listens to the show that doesn't have something that is capable of controlling things in your home. That you don't have to go out and buy one of the Amazon devices. You can, but you don't have to, because you probably have an iPhone, and that means, or an iPad, and that means you have Siri. And again, I'm trying to be careful. I don't want to trigger anybody's device if I can. Yeah. And so I think not only is it a good place to get started, but I admit I have found myself becoming addicted to Philips Hue smart bulbs. Now, I have to tell you, you're going to go and you're going to buy the color ones. And yeah, go ahead and get it out of your system. Because, I guess they're fun, but I honestly don't advocate spending the money on them. I would much prefer to see you buy the Philips Hue white, but the ones that are dimmable, the ones that you can, and the ones that you can control the temperature from a white perspective, not, turn it the living room green or the bedroom purple or anything, but just, you can warm them up, you can cool them off. But those are the ones that I've become addicted to them. They're all through my house, and if you buy one of the starter kits, it comes with the Hue hub. So again, you do need that to control them. But I have found this to be probably the most addictive smart home device that I have. Asking any of these devices to play music, that's great. But usually I kind of want to dig through manually and decide what I want to play. But there is absolutely nothing better than being in bed, getting ready to fall asleep. I have been reading my iPad, Gene. I haven't been reading my Kindle. And I don't want to get out of bed where it's cold and have to turn the lights off. And so if I can just say, hey, whoever, turn the lights off, the bedroom lights off, and they go off, I am happy. Get up in the morning, and the good morning scene is set so that all I have to do is say hey, good morning, and lights pop on throughout the house. And it just, nice. It really is. It's probably for me the thing that makes the most sense. It's the easiest, and should something go wrong, it's not going to take you hours to troubleshoot. You're going to be able to get it fixed pretty easily. If you want the color ones, yeah, absolutely. I bought the color ones, and they're fun to play with. But I have to tell you, I can honestly say I haven't found a really good use for them, because having my living room blue, I don't know why I need that.
Halloween. That was, I
Halloween.
couldn't help myself.
Yeah.
Although someone commented that my house looked like a bordello, so I went from red to blue.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've heard plenty of things, with the Colormans you can do if this, then that recipes. And so under certain circumstances, especially emergencies, you can maybe have them blink red or whatever. And that's great. And there's a place for that. But you can also do some of that with the white ones. If the white ones are blinking, as long as something's blinking, I know something's wrong. So it's just me. But yeah, I would advocate the whites.
They also have a Philips Hue Party app that will take all of the bulbs and start flashing them and doing like a dance party. Oh. Just in case you feel like getting your, some techno
groove on.
Dancing around the house.
Yeah, I mean they're great to start with, but I really think this is one of the first and best uses for home automation, at least for me. And as we go along, I'm sure there'll be other things, and I've got other things that I enjoy. But there's nothing. I use these every single day. From again at this time of year, it's dark when I get home, and it's so great to just be able to walk in and say, "Hey, turn the lights on," and the lights come on. So. Yeah,
I find that they're the gateway drug for home automation. Like everyone I know who starts using them ends up getting a Ring, and the next thing you know, they're replacing switches and they're putting Chamberlain garage door openers. Not saying that I've been through all of this, but
yes, you have.
Yeah. Not sure about the garage door openers, and taking nothing away from the people at Chamberlain, but there's still something about giving access to my home in that fashion that bothers me. I mean, with the Ring, it would be great to be able to say, "Okay, repairman, I hit the button and the door unlocks." Mm-hmm. But if anything happens that goes wrong, or somebody is successful in hacking it, then then they come in. So I still kind of like the old-fashioned security at this point. But boy, for the lights, yeah. Charles, you were much more eloquent with the gateway drug comment than I was, but that is what they do. So, okay, so we are on the last round, and I'm going to be really interesting to see what you come up with, because have you saved the best for last, or are you getting desperate? Charles?
Well, I was going to do something completely different, but after you did the Hue, I'm going to say a GE Z-Wave dimmable switch. And the reason is that you can get like a Wing Hub or something and run it through, whether it's SIRI, in case she's listening, or Alexa. I should have spelled that in case she's listening. But the challenge that I ended up running into, and I still use Hue bulbs in some rooms in the house where the dimmers didn't work properly. But
sorry, I don't know that one.
She is listening.
But the challenge that I ran into, especially with a 9-year-old in the house, is that that once you turn a switch off, you can't get it to come back on, or once you turn a Hue off, if you hit the switch instead of turning it off with the home automation, then you can't get it back on. And so switching over to dimmers, if you can, if you have the kind of electrical engineering aptitude to swap those out in your house, then it's a pretty easy. I don't even cut the breaker, don't tell my dad before I swap them out anymore. But 5-10 minutes, and then it's a new dimmer, and it's controllable, and then you don't need to buy new smart bulbs in case the bulb ever goes bad. Not that I think I've ever had a Hue bulb go bad, actually. So GE makes a nice one. I think they're about $35 on Amazon these days, and I'm not offering to come over to anyone's house and swap them out, but they're not that tough. I would say one warning: if you have a 3-way, then or 2 different switches that can control one room, make sure to buy the 3-way switches as opposed to the standalone switches.
Go through that again. The part again. What I need another hub. Is that a correct statement for these?
Well, the new Echo actually has a Z-Wave controller built into it, but if you are using it with like SIRI, then no, you would definitely need a hub that integrates with HomeKit.
Okay.
And that's a little bit of a bummer, but at the same time, it's very similar to what you said about the Hue, where it has a hub as well. So because like a HomePod or a Mac Pro can't control that other protocol. There needs to be some kind of bridge between the two wireless protocols. So. Got it.
Lots of home automation stuff going on here tonight.
Well, you said no one had done it, so I just went right on. That's great. And most of the GEs can be purchased in either almond or white, according to what kind of switches you have. So there is or gray or black sometimes. So
So they match your Chuck Taylors. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't want to go swapping switches out every day if I decide to wear a different. I'm not beyond it. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay, I think we just learned something about your personality. Jean, last pick.
All right. So my last pick, guys, I have the most I don't have any of the cool, fun guy picks like you guys, but I think I have very solid technology here that people will like. Now, this is something that I just got, and this is my most on the cutting edge thing that I have right now. Well, at least in its category, which is this is a home blood pressure cuff, electronic, and it syncs with the iPhone. It's from Omron. It's called the Evolv, and it just came out this month, and I just recently was, it was recommended to me to start taking my blood pressure at home. Like I've had some health things come up, and blood pressure is one of them. And I never had this problem before, so I'm kind of like, I want to get on it. And it gave me rationalization to buy another gadget, and it's a pretty cool gadget. This is all it is. Like I could carry it around. So it's like about the size of a small half a roll of paper towels or something. And it doesn't have any wires or anything like that to go into it. It just has some Velcro to pull apart. You slide your arm into it. It goes up on just like that, and it goes up to your upper left arm, and then you just press a button, and it does the blood pressure reading, and then it syncs it with your iPhone through their app, and you can have Health app have access to it as well. So this was, like I said, it was brand new, and it's the newest model. It was like $78. It's a little more expensive than some of the other options out there, but from what I understand, the ones you wear on your wrist are not as accurate, and this one is so easy to put on and off and just push the button. And I don't, even if I didn't use the iPhone, it would still be kind of fun. And it does store the information. You could sync it at some later date somehow. But since I have it, of course, that was the most important thing to me, was like it would work with the iPhone. So if you know somebody who, maybe needs this kind of medical monitoring or has one now that they don't like, this one, it's gotten great reviews, and I certainly give it a big thumbs up. I almost am tempted to bring it around with me to have everybody try it out, because it's that much, it's kind of satisfying to just be able to do it in such a one touch, no nonsense way.
So I just ordered one of those.
You did?
Not while you were talking. Before we started recording, they were talking about them on NPR because the AMA, I guess, just lowered the blood pressure recommendations in the last couple weeks.
That's right.
So I was on the drive home, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a gadget I don't have. So it just made my choice so much better. Thank you.
Yeah. No. I'll be curious to hear. You'll probably figure out some way to hook it into your lights or something. But I
did do that to my Fitbit scale.
To the lights. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward. I haven't tried to export the data yet. I'm just, sort of getting used to collecting it, but, being able to share it, with your healthcare professionals. But I knew about things like this, and I had resisted because, initially my doctor was saying, like, no, I think it's okay. Just get it, make sure we keep checking it. You don't have a history of blood pressure problems. And I was like, I really do want another gadget, but I know I would get obsessed with it and I would use it all the time and just play with it. But then more recently, a couple doctors said to me, it wouldn't be a bad idea to keep an eye on this at home, because it's not like you're coming into the doctors all the time. And since I've got all this other information, that my watch is sending, it's sort of nice to, that's it's an important number, even before they lowered their recommendations. But yeah, they did lower them by 10 points, if you haven't heard it. And I think that's interesting.
Good. I love the way that some of these things are becoming. I mean, some of that stuff used to be a real hassle to try to, get a partner to take your blood pressure, and, then how good are they at taking it, and, are you really getting good data? This gives you, I mean, my doctors kind of said the same thing, and it's like you get something and make it consistent. The electronic ones may not be quite as accurate, or they may be really accurate. The important thing is, though, to get one, stick with it, and notice the changes as opposed to what the absolute
trends.
is. Yeah. So good pick, Jean. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel healthier already.
Good. Yeah. Maybe health is a part of my theme here.
I'm not sure about the lights, the camping lights, but okay.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. Steve, what do you got for us the last time around?
My last pick is something that's practical, and it's not too expensive, and it kind of links in with the home automation we were talking about earlier, and it is the Ecobee 3 Lite smart thermostat. I've had this one since, I keep thinking it's like March or April of this year. And I had kind of resisted getting a smart thermostat. I'd heard people talking about Nest, and I thought, that'd be kind of interesting, but, what the heck? So I finally went ahead. I got this thing, and I love it. It is actually... strangely enough, and I don't know if it's just because I got this wonderful smart thermostat, or if it's, the weather's been different or something, but our gas and electric bills seem to have been lowered with it. One thing that's really kind of interesting about this, this works with Apple HomeKit, so you can, say, turn the temperature up, turn the temperature down, do whatever. It also works with Amazon Echo, and it integrates with a bunch of other systems. So, Samsung has SmartThings, there's IFTTT, Wink, all the rest of these things. So, you can say, as it's getting warmer, make the lights in my house redder, or something like that. I wouldn't go that far. I don't like the color hue lights either. The one thing that was really cool about this is I hadn't had this for all that long. And our local utility company, it's actually quite regional because they've got them up in Minneapolis, and that's Xcel Energy. And they came out with a deal. I got this email from them and said, if you happen to have an Ecobee smart thermostat, take that thing, and what we can do is we will give you a certain amount of money as almost like an incentive if you allow us on really, really hot days to turn your thermostat up for a few hours to reduce demand on our system. And as a result of that, and the fact that I've also got solar panels on the roof of this place, I actually had like no utility bill for several months. So
Wow.
anyway, it's very cool. It's a way that a company, a utility company, can actually go in and control demand by either raising or lowering the temperature in your home just for a few hours. And we had it happen, I think, twice during the cooling season, where it actually had to go in and bump it up. They send you a text telling you that they're going to do it, and they tell you when it's done. So Ecobee 3, I absolutely love it. It looks good. It works very well. And it can definitely save you a lot of money. So double thumbs up on that one.
How's the learning on that thing?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not sure how it learns, but I know when we first got it, our air conditioning had a certain pattern to it on how it would work. And it would always get, just a little too cool, and then it would swing back to a little too warm, and it would kind of run a little bit longer. Since we've put this in, the air conditioning now, it seems to maybe run a little more often, but we don't have the wide swings in terms of temperature there. The other thing is it controls the fan on the furnace a lot better. In some cases, for instance, it'll run the heat. We're definitely in heating season right now, but it'll run the heat for a while, and then you can kind of understand. You know that it's just running the fan to kind of circulate the warm air throughout the house, and that it's not actually running the furnace. But I've been really, really impressed with this thing. So I give it if I had 4 thumbs, I'd give it a 4 thumbs up.
I've had a Nest for a long time, and I find that the Nest is great for controlling. But I cannot say that I love I don't want to call it artificial intelligence, but the self-learning. I frequently say, I think my house is trying to kill me, because I'll wake up at 2 a.m. and I'm like, oh my God, it's like 50 degrees in here. Or the opposite, the very next day, where I'm like, it's like the heat has cranked up in the middle of August, and I don't know how it's self-learning, but I think it's not self-learning.
Well, one other thing I like about this, the cost or the price right now is $149. But the other thing I really like is they've got room sensors, and they're powered by a little watch battery. You just put it in there. I think it's supposed to last about a year. But the room sensors, you put them in those rooms where you're going to be a bedroom, maybe a family room or something like that. When it senses motion, it'll say, oh, obviously, they're in the family room watching TV or doing something there. So I'm going to, change the temperature. So, it's 72 degrees or whatever it happens to be in that particular room. When we go upstairs to the bedroom, where, in the summer, it's generally quite a bit warmer up there. When we go to that room, it's going to run the air conditioning just a little bit longer to make sure that it's cool in that room as well. But so the sensors are really, really a kind of a cool thing.
Do you have multiple zones in your house, like HVAC zones?
No, just
all one zone.
One big, massive zone.
My new house is that way. My last house had 4 zones in it, and living in Minnesota, my heating bills in the middle of the winter went down by a solid $400 a month.
Wow.
When I introduced automation. The new house it's not nearly as impactful because it's one zone, but with the sensors, if no one was in certain parts of the house, then I could just basically shut that down. But with one zone, there's still a substantial, I think, savings, as you mentioned. I'll have to get an EcoBF, and that's been on my list of things to do for a while. My honeydew list for myself.
I'm curious, though, as far as the learning part goes, giving the power company the option to tweak that a little bit, couldn't that mess up the algorithm?
I think it probably could, but I would think that once they've done their demand shaving there, and it goes back to normal. Like I said, it's usually 2 to 4 hours that they'll pick to change. Either make it hotter in your house in the summer or colder in your house in the winter. But I think it would just go back to the regular, past history that it's got. I haven't really seen any change after the 2 cooling alerts that we had this summer. So
Interesting.
Cool device, though.
Yeah. Okay. Another thing on the list. Thanks, Steve.
Well, I've got to admit, they've got several other models as well, but I got this one because it was the least expensive. And also, a very familiar name to both you and I. Jeff Gamet had one. And I said, Jeff's got one, it's got to be good.
Yeah. You've got a good point. Okay, good. Thank you. I'm going to end this round of my picks because one of my challenges, of course, is that these folks just have to come up with 4, maybe 5 gifts. I've got to find 4 for every show. So I'm going to go with something, though, that is pretty inexpensive, and I think most of you, if you have iPhones, can use. I keep trying different camera apps to try to get better, and I probably just need to become a better photographer. But I've got the iPhone 10, and the camera's fantastic. But all these apps say, well, we can make you better, and sometimes they can, and sometimes they can't, and sometimes I don't think to be honest with you, I don't spend enough time playing with them to really get the benefit. But the one I keep coming back to because it's just easy to use and I get great results with it is Camera Plus. It is just a nice little app. The controls, at least for me, are very intuitive. And if you're not quite satisfied with the shot, it's a filter. But they've got something called Clarify that just makes the photo pop. I absolutely love it. I can take a great photo, and I even used the Clarify filter on it, and it just goes better. And of course, then it's got all the others, the sepia and the monotone and all that the ones you kind of expect. Clarify is not quite HDR. I don't think, because it pulls at times with the right photo. It might start looking a little hyper realistic, but for the most part, it just saturates the colors and darkens the blacks and just makes everything look great. It's $2.99 and it's an easy download. The one thing, though, you probably will want to go to the show notes and follow that link to get to the right spot on the App Store, because there are so many camera apps and so many that are called Camera Plus with either the plus sign or whatever, and I want to make sure you get the right one. So if you don't get the one with Clarify, then you've gotten the wrong one. Sorry, but find that one, and you will be very, very happy with it, I think.
Yeah, and you used to be able to search for it by the company name, which was Tap Tap Tap.
Yes.
It's now changed the name of the company. It's the people who actually have developed it for years are now marketing it as well. So you can't search for Tap 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 anymore.
Yeah. Yes, that's why. Yeah, for once, you definitely need to go to the show notes and find that link and make sure you get the right one. But yeah, I think it's now the one that's on my home screen because I use it more than the regular camera. It's absolutely great. So that's, let's see, 4 times 4. That's 16 good picks with a couple other mentions in there. That's a lot of interesting stuff, guys. Thank you very much for being as offbeat as I expected you to be.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
that's really great.
Yeah, these are always fun shows to do because we get a bunch of friends together and we have some laughs, and nothing is sacred with these shows, which is the best part. I want to make sure we go around the room, though, and let folks know where they can find you if they want to query you about your picks or query you about anything else, or in Charles's case, find out what color sneakers he's wearing today.
Blue.
Blue. Okay. Charles, what's the best way for folks to keep up with you?
Twitter, I'm CEdge318, CEDGE318. Facebook, all the other things, I'm just Cryptid, KRYPTED, and my website's cryptid.com. And then the Mac Admins podcast as well,
Great.
Which is a very nerdy podcast. It's a lot of code to talk about.
To talk about, you don't actually just read the code.
I do have an idea for an episode on code that rhymes and trying to read that, but I think my fellow podcasters have shot me down on this one.
Charles, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for coming.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Gene, I'm so glad to get you back on the show, and now I get the impression that maybe we'll be talking again soon. So I love that. But in the meantime, where can folks find you?
I am on Twitter at MacGenie, which is MacGenie. I'm also on micro.blog, which is my work home these days, where I'm the community manager. I'm MacGenie there as well. And I have a podcast now. You probably don't know this, but unless you're a fan of Orphan Black, the Canadian sci-fi thriller show, I have a podcast called Sestercast, where we watch episodes of Orphan Black and working our ways through the 5 seasons of Orphan Black. And that's been pretty fun for me after all these years of just sitting in and letting other people do all the work. I have been recording and editing podcasts myself, and that's over at the Incomparable Network. Yeah, I think that's it for me right now.
Great.
But again, thanks for having me.
Yeah, hey, it's always fun. Love Orphan Black. And I knew you were doing the podcast, and I'm embarrassed to say I sort of forgot about it, so I'm going to have to go back. Now you give me a good reason to restart watching Orphan Black the whole way from the beginning to the end again.
Yeah,
I've never seen it, so.
Oh my God, it's such a great show.
Yeah,
but obviously, because I wouldn't put all this time into something if I only felt meh about it. But yeah, I think that's the thing that we're trying to do is have a podcast for people. You know, it wasn't super high numbers in terms of viewers, so there's a lot of people who have never watched it. And so my co-host Kathy Campbell has never watched it, so we're watching it together. Me, who has watched it like too many times maybe. So for people who want to say, oh, let's start from the beginning again and watch it. And then, maybe it's like having virtual friends who, you listen to them talk about the show. Like I like that for certain shows that I watch. But we don't have any spoilers for the future episodes. So if somebody's watching it for the first time, we don't spoil them with the end of the series finale that we had to watch. We got this summer. And so anyway, yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah. It's one of those shows that I think would benefit from a podcast because at first, and I don't want to give anything away, so I'm not really spoilers, but even just the idea that going into it, it can get a little confusing because of the way the characters are structured. And so if you have a little bit of a guide, it'll make it easier, and I think you'll fall in love with it that much faster. But it's a great show. I watched all 5 seasons, and it is a great show. Yeah.
How interesting. I love meeting people who watched Orphan Black because I just really didn't know anybody, and there wasn't a podcast for me to listen to. And I was just like, well, what if I start one? And people were like, yeah, we'd listen to that. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'd been wanting to do some, that work myself. And so I consider it's my podcast university for me, and people have been very helpful helping me. And I tried not to overthink it or over edit or over buy. But as you see, I do have some new equipment since I last saw you.
I was wondering about that. Now I understand. So, hey, it's great to see you, Gene.
Same here. Bye-bye.
Steve, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for the great stuff. You cost me money.
Well, thank you for inviting. Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Well, yeah, it's always nice to be able to, kind of suggest things that people go out and they try. So, but where can I be found? Let's see. On Twitter, which I don't use all that much anymore, it's at Steven, Steven Sande. But the website is Apple World Today at appleworld.today or appleworldtoday.com. And if you go to good old Facebook, we've got an Apple World Today page there. And all of our articles show up there, or links to them, please. And last but not least, we do a podcast on YouTube Live every Tuesday night. So in about less than 2 hours, I'm going to be doing that one. But we do one called AWT, Apple World Today, live. And it's usually a fun show. A couple of, bunch of nerds sitting around talking about Macs and iOS devices. We actually had a live coverage from the Jamf user, whatever it's Jamf Now, I guess is the name of it, the conference.
Oh, yeah, the Jamf Nation user conference.
Jamf Nation, that's it.
Yeah. So you saw me there.
And we actually, that was pretty cool. We had one night where our roofing correspondents were, this was after the conference, but they were walking around the hotel and, it was pretty cool. You guys had banners all over the place. That was nuts.
Yeah, I did not know that we were going to end up getting, when I joined the company a few years ago, that we're going to end up getting to the point where we'd have 1,900 people show up to a conference about our product.
Really impressive, though, from all the comments we got. So,
yeah.
Good stuff.
I've talked to a couple of people that on the show, we talked about the Jamf Nation user conference, and I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. So it's like, another conference I want to come to now. So
come to Minnesota. We're nice, I promise.
Yeah, as long as it's not January, we'll be there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's when we fly all of our employees to Minnesota.
Oh, you're just trying to warm the state up is what you're trying to do. Guys, thank you again so much for being here. Happy holidays to you all. Hope you have a great one, and we'll see you next time.
Can't wait. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Happy holidays.
Yeah. Bye.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. I hope once again we've given you some ideas for things you want to give or get or ask for, whatever. But it's always a good time, and we plan to do more right up through the holidays. So until then, and as always, thanks for listening. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our MacVoices Facebook group and get more out of your Apple Tech with MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us at patreon.com/MacVoices and join these folks who help keep MacVoices coming to you. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.